Alright guys, what's going on? We're back again with yet another update. Some of you guys have been, of course, busting my chops about what's been going on, but that's great. I want you guys to keep doing what you're doing because that really gives me motivation to keep making these videos. We hit a huge milestone on the channel. We are finally monetized. It's too late. We should have been monetized earlier, but better late than never. A month ago, I technically got monetized, but then I had to unmonetize for the sake of making my account an individual versus organization. I don't know when I made it an organization, probably when I was like 3 years old, but what can you do? It happens. I started this channel when I was very young, so I probably messed it up. But we are finally monetized, and if you guys see an ad, that is why. Yeah, so let's just jump into the update. I got a lot to talk to you guys about. I did make the decision to live at school for the year. Last time I spoke to you guys, I was telling you that I decided against doing that for the sake of treatment and yada yada, but I decided to do it, and I'm very happy I did. I got my apartment reinstated. It's the penthouse. It's got a really nice view, and the roommates seem chill. I don't know them that well yet, but yeah, cool vibes all around. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. The last couple of days I've been partying pretty hard, which you guys probably did not expect me to hear me say, but listen, in times like these, it's very important to keep yourself occupied. Sorry, there's just a band-aid here. I'll get into that in a second. So, at first, when I went back to school, I was feeling very physically stiff, which does happen to me a lot with the cerebral palsy, but it was like kind of bad. Like, I was very stiff in my legs especially, but after a few days of living at school, and the thing about living at school, at least for me, is that I walk like 10 times more than I do at home. So that's really, really good in times like these because I'm kind of like walking off that stiffness, exercising a little bit more, and the stiffness almost entirely went away. So I was a little bit worried that was like a neuropathy situation going on. But I do think it is partially that, because for those of you guys who don't remember, the main chemo that I'm getting is called vincristine, which does cause neuropathy. That's the main side effect. And there's two different types of neuropathy. There's peripheral neuropathy, which is like tingling and numbness, and then there's neuropathy that's just basically straight up weakness. So I noticed that my knees were a little bit weaker than usual, but that's possibly just because I'm not moving as much. There's really no way to tell if it is the vincristine or not. It's nothing significant enough to say that it is definitely that. So, you know, that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. But the great news is that I actually won't be receiving vincristine until October 3rd. So that's basically a month break from vincristine, and I'm hoping that all of it pretty much gets cleansed out of my system by then, and the build up kind of like restarts, if that makes sense. I am on my 10th week of chemo of this cycle. The 10th week is actually the last one of the cycle. So we got one more. This Thursday is the last big chemo. I'm definitely anxious about that, because if you compare me now to how I was in the last video, you will see pretty significant difference. And that was like a week after the big chemo, and I still felt kind of shitty. But that was also because a lot of bad stuff happened at the same time. So it was also kind of like a mental thing as well. But I feel way better now. I don't feel anything at all. I feel completely normal and fine. But I'm gonna feel pretty shitty after that 10th chemo. There is no vincristine, but there are the A and the C drug. The C drug is the most toxic one, so that's the last time I'm getting that one. I'm really excited to put this chapter of the book in the rear view because it is definitely the worst one. Those big ones are certainly the killer. And the other ones, you know, they do cause a bit of stiffness and maybe a bit of tingling here and there, but that's nothing compared to actually feeling like crap. Which luckily that one does not cause. Now, with the 10th week, we have 2 days in a row. The first day is when I get the chemo, the second day is when I get the access and I get hydration. So it's gonna be hell on earth for Thursday and Friday, but after that, I will be done for good with that whole cycle. I'll never have to deal with that again. Now, after that, there are some other things that do go on. So, a break from everything does occur. So from September 13th, which is when I get the access, I won't have to walk in to the hospital for 11 days, which is a lot at this point in my life, which I never thought I'd be saying. I used to go like years without going into one, but unfortunately that is no longer an option. So I'm not going to go back to the hospital until September 24th, which is when I get the scans. So I'm getting a CT x-ray. I'm sorry, not a CT. I'm getting an x-ray of the chest, not a CT. So I'm not getting a CT. The reason for that is because one of the main places that rhabdomyosarcoma can spread is the chest. But since mine didn't spread at all and not to the chest, there's no reason to do a CT of the chest. So they're just going to do an x-ray to make sure everything looks good in the chest area. Haven't had any problems with that, so that'll be fine. And then I'm doing an MRI of the orbit, which is the orbital one, which is basically just a brain MRI effectively. So we'll see if there's anything behind that eye anymore. And you know, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there won't be, but we went to a radiologist today and they said that there usually is a couple of bad specks after the first round of chemo. It's really yet to be seen. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I really don't know about that. And then they also do the PET scan of the whole body, which unfortunately takes forever and is pretty bad for you. But apparently they have to do 2 scans of the orbit, 1 PET, 1 MRI, just to make sure that everything is accurate. So that's on the 24th. That's going to be a long day. The other thing coming up is proton radiation therapy. So, proton therapy delivers precise beams to the site of the tumor instead of like just zapping your whole brain, which is what photon regular radiation would do. It just shoots it right at the eye. So I'm gonna get into that whole thing in a minute, because that is the next big obstacle that we're gonna have to deal with. I've asked on multiple occasions, you know, what happens if I just don't do the radiation? The eye already looks good, and the scans will come back clean, God willing. And they said there would be like 60% chance of it coming back and then having to redo the chemo again. So obviously that's not good because that's going to be a lot more toxic than just getting it all over with now. So, yeah, basically we have to do it. And based on what the scan says, it's either going to be 20 to 28 days. It could be somewhere in the middle. If it's completely clean, it will be 20. If it's something, it will be closer to 28. It is kind of a big difference, so hopefully it comes back clean. Because 20 would only be 4 weeks, right? 5 days a week for 4 weeks, but then 28 would be 5.5 weeks, which seems like a lot more than 4. Um, the main risk with the proton is the eye itself. So I'm not going to feel any physical effects, like I'm not going to be exhausted or nauseous. That is pretty much a guarantee because it's a localized radiation regimen. But I might develop a cataract. I've been explained it 2 different ways. One way is that in the next 5 to 10 years I'll probably get a cataract, and then another way I was explained it by the actual radiologist is that it basically ages your eye or whatever body part is being targeted by the radio waves an extra couple of years. So if I was gonna get a cataract at 60, I'll get it at 40 or something like that. So that is what it is. The cataract surgery is really easy. They can do it in 10 minutes. A lot of people would get it. It's obviously nothing compared to dealing with cancer itself. So that's the main risk. Another thing that will probably happen is I'll get a sunburn around my eyes, so it'll just look like really sunburnt around that left eye. The radiologist did say it would be pretty bad towards the end. I don't know how bad that means. Like, they tend to exaggerate most of the time. So if she says it's pretty bad, it's probably just plain bad, not like really bad. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. We'll just have to experience that. They're gonna give me some creams and stuff. It's definitely frustrating because the eye literally looks completely perfect right now as it is with just the chemo. But now it's gonna go back to looking a little bit worse before it's fully done. That's definitely hard because I'm already kind of good, but there's this looming risk of it coming back, which has to be addressed. And then another risk of the proton radiation is actual vision loss, but she said that the risk of that is pretty low. I doubt it'll happen, but that would really suck if it did. That's not something you want because I have 20/20 and I want to keep it that way. Although I feel like that eye is slightly worse than the other eye already, but it's not noticeable. Like, when I have both my eyes open, it's barely noticeable, but then if I really try and see it, I would say it's slightly different. But yeah, so there's that. As far as the rest of the chemo goes, it's just gonna be the one chemical, the vincristine neuropathy thing. We'll get into this in a minute. I did cut myself, I guess. But hold on to your words. This is probably gonna be a bit of a long video because a lot's happened lately. Fortunately enough, I was able to go back to school, meet all my friends again. They saw me bald for the first time, and yeah. So I was chilling with them. I was drinking a good amount of alcohol, which some people might advise against, but I really wanted to loosen up my body. So I had an actual reason for doing it. Nothing crazy. I mean, I never really drink ever, and we went out a couple times and drank. I didn't really feel any worse. I actually felt great after, ironically enough. But yeah, so I want to move my entire treatment over to school. There is a proton center 10 minutes from my house, and there is a Sloan Kettering 20 minutes from my college. And I really wanted to do that, but unfortunately it looks like the proton center out there does not specialize in rhabdomyosarcoma, and the one in the city does, so we'll probably end up going with that one just based on that. So there will be a lot of back and forth happening. the next date that I need to watch out for is the date of the simulation for the proton therapy. They need to simulate it before they start it, and make like a mask of my face to see exactly where they're gonna shoot the proton beams. And it does appear that that'll be towards the end of September, and then I'll start proton therapy either on October 7th or October 14th, and it'll go either to early November or mid-November, depending on how many days it does need to go through for. So yeah, those are the main aspects of my treatment going forward. Definitely need to power through this week. And yeah, super happy to be back at school. I did trip and fall, so that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what I ended up doing. Little band-aid. You can't really see the cut, but like I said, I was thinking it might be neuropathy, but I also might have just tripped and fallen. No big deal really. But yeah, with all that being said, I'm gonna end it off here. Thanks for watching. Take care. More to come. Stay tuned because I will make an update probably in a couple of weeks. I'll probably recover from that last chemo and then get the PET scan and let you know what the status of the cancer itself is, because that is something that we haven't physically checked in a while, even though we can see that it's basically gone. That's the lucky thing about this type, that you can monitor it live in the flesh. So yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you all later. Peace.